What's up, everybody? Corey Hughes, Bloody History. So, I'm having some emotional turmoil today over today's show because I was going to continue on our journey through the Secret Service in my series 8 plus 2 equals 10, which is in reference to the fact that the 8 men who should have been on the Secret Service car picked up 2 passengers on the way to Parkland Hospital, those passengers being Jack Valente and David Morales. This I've covered before in my 7-hour presentation of A Warning from History I did a couple years ago, which is available on my website if you haven't seen it yet. It's kind of my magnum opus, other than the book itself, which is available on Amazon. If you haven't picked it up yet, please do. But we're not going to continue today. We're gonna get back to it. But I then this is where it gets to my emotional turmoil. Okay, so I stumbled across a document today that both simultaneously elated me and fucking pissed me off to no end. So, in going through the Secret Service stuff, you have to come to realize that the Secret Service functions under the Department of the Treasury. And so I'm going through the Weisberg Secret Service documents, and he's got a lot of good stuff in there, like a ton of good stuff that you don't find anywhere else. But it's fragmented. Into several different files. You have Secret Service, you have Secret Service statements, Secret Service files, Secret Service documents. Then you get into like Treasury documents, and when you think Treasury, it's just you're talking Secret Service. So, I'm going through this goddamn Treasury documents that are this series is labeled Treasury-CIA documents. If you're looking at the video, you can look at the upper left-hand corner and you can see that tab. But as I'm going through these, I click on one of the links, and I fucking find this. This is my first instinct was anger, not to be excited for the content, which is going to be fucking great, I promise, but anger because I've been doing this mostly full-time for almost 6 years. Since July of 2018, the Kennedy assassination has been my entire fucking life, okay? So, I've read every goddamn known document that everyone's ever brought to light, okay? I'm probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150,000 pages of documents read at this point. I mean, it's just unfucking real, the amount of Kennedy original documents that I've absorbed. And so I've been saying for years that Garrison's files are incomplete. They're fucking virtually non-existent. When you come to understand how much fucking paper documentation is generated by a district attorney's office, right? You and a police department and you name it, like any one of these organizations, the FBI, the CIA. When you come to understand, like just in the normal course of daily administrative work, the sheer fucking volume of paper documentation that's generated. Like as a cop, I'd go and I'd do a fucking incident, one thing, it'd be like a shoplift, and I'd do one police report. That one police report would be, 25 to 30 pages long. The vast majority of it administrative bullshit. Some pages having like one line on it or one indication of something, and then going to the next, right? So, and then that would go to the state attorney or the district attorney. And then that would be just one part of their file. They'd have other documents on top of that, and then you'd have hundreds of cases, right? So, you're talking. If we were in the modern era, if we were just dealing with paper documents, they would have to have whole warehouses to handle this stuff, right? So That's what they had in 1968 when Garrison was working on this case. The fucking sheer volume of paper documentation that had to have been generated is just mind-fucking-boggling. Like, Garrison alone probably generated a couple million pages of documents, but when you pull Garrison's papers today, what do you get? Like 100,000? If that, if you even get a fucking 100,000, I don't even think you get 100,000. I think you get more fucking paper out of John Armstrong's files, which is over 100,000, than you get out of Jim Garrison's fucking papers, right? And so what we're going to talk about today is a goddamn interview of Lawrence Howard, shooter from the Sniper's Nest, right? An interview conducted by Jim Garrison, Bill Boxley, Louis Ivan, and Steve Burton, February 25th, 1968. And guess what? The current modern day Jim Garrison papers, they don't even have a fucking folder for Lawrence Howard. Nothing at all. Lawrence Howard is obviously the, quote, Negro who he showed a picture to Roger Craig of in Dealey Plaza getting arrested. And so Jim Garrison is well aware of who the fuck Lawrence Howard is, and you can tell me he didn't have a folder on Lawrence Howard? Fuck you. Okay? I promise you he had 10,000 pages on fucking Lawrence Howard if he had one. And none of those pages exist anymore. And what really fucking pissed me off today is that I've been studying this shit for almost 6 fucking years. I have known Lawrence Howard was interviewed. I've never seen this fucking document ever. It doesn't exist in the Garrison files. And it only exists in Weisberg's Treasury-CIA Documents D file. Go fuck yourself, whoever went out of their way to bury this. Because that's exactly what the fuck happened. Now I have no fucking choice but to go through every single goddamn one of these fucking miscellaneous files in Weisberg's archive, which is almost seemingly fucking endless. It's like a bad trip, dude. Going through Weisberg's archive is like a fucking bad trip. And so now I'm going to have to do that. And I'm going to have to figure out what other fucking important fucking interviews like this. This is an 86-page interview of fucking Lawrence Howard. Are you joking me? This is fucking gold. This is priceless. I can't fucking believe that I've never seen this in all the fucking time I've been working on this shit. Ooh, does it make me fucking angry. And I've never seen this. No one's ever cited this. This is almost like this is probably the first time that this particular document has ever seen the fucking light of day in the digital era. Unfucking believable. I can't believe how goddamn angry I am over this shit. Well, I'm going to try to put that aside. And maybe I shouldn't drink any more coffee. I've had like 4 cups of coffee today. Ran out of fucking creamer. I had to use my goddamn roommate's bullshit fucking hippie oat creamer. What a bunch of nonsense. That shit should be fucking... When I'm emperor, that shit's illegal. I'm getting rid of all that fucking vegetarian crap. Alright, so let's get on with this. I'm done with my fucking angry rant for the day. So, transcribed February 26, 1968, interview of Lawrence Howard, 12226 Pineville Street, El Monte, California. Phone number 442-6443. Interview conducted by Jim Garrison, Bill Boxley, Louis Ivan, and Steve Burton, February 25th, 68. It seems to pick up kind of abruptly, so I don't know if it's missing a page or what, but this is all we have. So it's annotated in question and answer form. Question is going to be by one of the aforementioned names, probably Garrison or Boxley, and the answers will all have come from Lawrence Howard. Lawrence Howard, again, being the husky Latino with the pockmarked face who was seen with Oswald all over the place. That Oswald actually having been William Seymour. William Seymour having been one of 2 men, the other being Carrie Thornley, who are the primary subjects of the impersonation of Oswald, everywhere potentially from Miami to New Orleans, to all over Louisiana and Alice, Texas, and you name it, and all over fucking Texas and Baton Rouge and every goddamn place in between that Oswald was ever seen. There's even some potential sightings of Oswald after the assassination in Los Angeles, but of course, who would that be? That would be William Seymour visiting his buddy out there, right? So, that's hilarious. So it picks up. In other words, I've taken his latest statement once he said it. And Lawrence Howard says, this is understandable. I see your side of it because I see if I was in your shoes and Lawrence Howard popped up and knowing these people, have been here and done this and this and this, I'd be interested too. By the same token, you're cooperative and wish to try to help us with what you can recall. That's good enough for me, and I will go out of my way to see that it's made public. Well, this is what I'm counting on. You can count on that, said Garrison's team. Lawrence Howard then says, actually, I don't feel that I've got much that I haven't already said, but like I told Redacted, I'll go before your grand jury, and if you want to bring witness to me or if you want to send them to me, fine. I've got a couple of snapshots here of what I looked like in 63 and, of course, what I look like now, and I'll give you what I can, what I know, and that's all I can do. That's good enough for me. I've got to make a call before it's too late. While I do that, if you men want to show Mr. Howard some of the pictures, I'll be back in a second. This is a personal call, and I'll get it out of the way. Be back in a second. I'm assuming that's Jim Garrison. Question, I want you to go through this book here. From here on? Right. And then it's assumed that Lawrence Howard is looking through a book of pictures at this point. And he says, Diaz Lands. You know, if I hadn't seen the name, I wouldn't have recognized him. So Diaz Lands, okay, those are brothers. Were they Cubans? They might have been Cubans. But they were associates of Frank Sturgis. And Frank Sturgis acknowledges that the two of them were his close friends in Miami. And so a lot of people try to link them to the assassination. I never was able to, ever. Like, period. Like, at all. At all. Like, Sturgis was there because he was in that circle. And he had to be there. Like, they all had to be there. So you can count on the fact he was there. Not because there's any fucking evidence that Sturgis was there. There is none. Zero. But of course he was there, because they all had to be there, because this was some sort of fucking ritual to them. It was, they all had to see for themselves. The only person I bet you who wasn't there was Dulles. Dulles was fucking tucked away in Washington, far from anywhere. But Diaz Lands, the brothers, I forget their names offhand, their first names, but they were associates of Frank Sturgis, and here we know that Lawrence Howard knows them, right? So now we can connect them to Lawrence Howard, and Lawrence Howard to Frank Sturgis, but that's not much of a stretch because all of these guys were connected through No Name Key, right? Garrison's guys say, oh, really? Howard says, yeah. And then in parentheses it says, with regard to pictures of Jewel Rico Kimball, Howard made the following statement. He's from the next state over, Mississippi. Yeah, he's been in Mississippi. But he would be from Mississippi, around Biloxi or Gulfport. He reminds me of a guy that I met up there in Miami, but he's from Mississippi, or lived there. His father owns some kind of nightclub or theater. So let me talk about this real quick. Jules Rico Kimball talked to Garrison. Jules Rico Kimball pretty much laid the blame at the feet of Howard and Seymour for the shooting at Walker's house, to which I completely concur. They were definitely responsible for that. I'll end up having to go back and do a show on the Walker shooting because I need to revisit some of the stuff I've said in the past about the bullet, and I need to clarify some of that stuff. So you can count on a show on that coming up. But with regards to a picture of Jules Rico Kimball, Howard made the following statement. He's from the next state over, Mississippi. Yeah, so that's corroboratable because that's exactly what Kimball told Garrison, and he was doing all the Ku Klux Klan stuff in Mississippi for the feds. So here, let me make another connection here. So Jules Rico Kimball was running with these guys down in No Name Key, a bunch of mercenaries. He was also running with the Ku Klux Klan and the Minutemen and all these type of organizations. And he was backed, and he told Garrison he was a fink for the feds. And so he was working for the CIA and FBI and all these guys as an informant, because informants are like whores amongst the intelligence community. They get passed around. So that connects Lawrence Howard and these guys in another way to the CIA, which you don't really need much of a stretch for. I mean, it's obvious these guys are all CIA. All right, continuing on. Was he in a training project? He tried to get in. This was in September, but the latter part of August and September, I went up there in October, redacted, and he was working with some other Cubans. And then this seems to be redacted also. The question is, why was he redacted? Answer is, because we weren't interested in anybody redacted for anybody that was in training. What kind of personality did he have? Was he a rough character, or was he a smooth talking? Smooth talking. I don't know about, this here. I mean, I don't know, a little familiar. But the guy you've got in mind was pretty much a smooth talker. Yeah. Some of these people, I mean, I know who they are. Yeah, this warden, Martin, showed me pictures of them. Who's that, you know? Which one do you know? I don't know them. I just know them from pictures. Yeah, Jack Martin. Yeah, so here we go. Now we have Lawrence Howard connecting himself to Jack Martin. He knows Jack Martin, too. Obviously through all the connections at 544 Camp Street and David Ferry, right? So Howard then says, I was told he wasn't not to trust him. I don't know. I think that that's Ruby, isn't it? Yeah. That's Bill. I guess that's a younger Bill. And then the question is, Seymour seems to look different in every photograph, every time he's photographed. Which one is the most representative of him? So they're talking about William Seymour. Answer, I would say this one. This is the younger one. Well, this one, I've never seen this one. I've seen pictures of him. Is that Smith? Right, Sergio. So he's connecting himself to Sergio Arcacha Smith also. This is a great fucking interview. I've seen his pictures. Which one is that? Smith. Yeah, Sergio. Have you ever seen him? No, I've seen pictures of him. Bullshit. You were all in the book depository that day, so fuck off. And he fled with you in the fucking green in the Green Nash Rambler after the assassination, so eat a dick. No, I've seen pictures of him. Yeah, that's something I'll tell you about later. I don't know, but another name comes to mind. I might have been mistaken. Now, this one here I was shown yesterday. Shown by who yesterday? Which one is that? This one here, I was asked if there was a resemblance. And I felt that it was, but, I mean, who showed you that? I don't know if I should say. We'll keep it off the record. Incidentally, anything you want to say to be off the record, we'll keep it off the record. Furthermore, I don't believe in monitoring, taping, or bugging. Well, it's all right then. I mean, I just want to let you know that because you might think we plant bugs and we don't do that. We leave that to the federal government. I'm not worried about that. I don't have this thing going. And then something long is redacted and it says by Art Kevin. Okay, so Arthur Kevin is one of those guys who Weisberg has talked about in the past, who I believe was like another investigator possibly, or somehow in the mix of all this, trying to gather information. So he might have been in contact with Arthur Kevin. Question asked is going to be asked, and the answer is, well, then he showed me some other pictures, and he asked me if I thought there was a resemblance, and I've got to admit that there is. About Bradley comes from different witnesses and affidavits. Yeah, he asked me about that. And then there's a full question redacted, and I don't know why the fuck that is. And the answer is no, I tried to place him, but to me there's just a resemblance here. Yeah, now I know it's Hall. This is Bradley and this is Hall, but I wouldn't have recognized Hall until I was shown to him and I was asked if I know him. Different people showed me pictures and I didn't recognize him and I hadn't known, or if they hadn't told me it was Hall, I still, even under oath, I would say no, I didn't know him. Okay, this is so fucking funny. This is like, I wouldn't say that, go as far as say this is CIA anti-interrogation training, because if it is, he's not any good at it. But what Howard is saying here is that basically what he's letting you know is that he has denied knowing many of the people that were shown pictures to him of. He just denied everybody, but it turns out that he did know some. He denied knowing Lauren Hall, but of course he knew Lauren Hall because they were both on the 6th floor firing shots that day. Well, he had a long period that he had the beard, and then he had the long period since then he had the mustache, and then there's the period you have in between. But this as long as I was to him, I mean, the time I was with him from pictures I've seen of him now, he looks quite different now than he used to look. He looks a lot older in the pictures. He looks almost the same, but I would never have recognized him. He doesn't have the, what I mean is he doesn't have the swashbuckling look. You know, you're used to seeing him with the beard and the redacted, and the what? And the redacted and so forth. And I guess he just put on some weight and lost some hair. I know that Shaw, it looks like Shaw. I've seen pictures of him. Whose picture is that? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's the fellow we were curious about because he seemed all right. That's Kerry Thornley, the one we questioned before the grand jury, and he began lying very much. And then Lawrence Howard says, Wesley Thornley? Kerry Thornley. Oh, Kerry Thornley. That's funny because his middle name was Wesley or something like that. Kerry Wendell Thornley. And he goes, Wesley Thornley. So he knew him, right? Of course he knew him because Kerry Thornley identifies Leopoldo in his 50-page affidavit to Jim Garrison. Of course these fucking guys knew each other. Oh, Kerry Thornley. We were curious as to why he felt it necessary to lie about so many things. I just read an article today on it. Let's see, that's Oswald's house, isn't it? Let me see. Or the house next door. I can't see upside down. That's the house next door to it, isn't it? And then you have an entire series here that's redacted. An answer and another question. Totally redacted. From Garrison's fucking papers. Who went in and censored Garrison's fucking papers? That's what I want to know. The answer is, you know what I would like to see. You've got a picture of. You see that door? That's Shaw's. It's painted red. That's Shaw's place. What is it you'd like to see? And then Howard says, have you got a picture? If you've got a picture, I'd like to see it of Miss Odio. I'd like to see a picture of the carousel. Question, we haven't bothered to get one of Miss Odio because she's always been in Puerto Rico, and I understand she's darn good looking, but we don't have one. That's what I've heard. I've never seen her, but I'd like to. Okay, so Lawrence Howard is now saying he's never seen Miss Odio, but that's bullshit, because he was at Miss Odio's place, okay? And he wants to see pictures of the carousel, which is obvious because he was at the fucking carousel when he was in there with Harvey Wade, right? The guy from out of town who was in town on business, who saw him with Lauren Hall and William Seymour, and he identified Seymour as Oswald, right? So question, well, the carousel, they've got pictures in the in some of the exhibits, pictures of the outside, but that's so irrelevant. We haven't bothered to get that. Howard says, well, the reason I asked about it is, you want to know why I'm curious. One of the times when we, the time we were in Dallas, we were driving, Hall made this statement, and I'm in no way trying to imply or insinuate, just point out the facts, and then says inaudible. Part of these names I've picked up through the news media, through Steve Jaffe and Art and various news reporters, that's Arthur Kevin, and most of my information now are due to these names here. So he happens to know everybody in the goddamn fucking cast of characters, but only because he's heard about them on the news, right? Did you ever hear Oswald's name before November 22nd? No, never. Did you ever hear of Joseph Moore? Moore? No. That guy I read something or heard something about, I don't know who he is. What about Dalzell? Did we show him a picture of Dalzell? Howard says, Dalzell? He goes, yeah, William Dalzell. Now, while we're getting that, let me ask you this. I judge from your reaction to Lauren Hall's announcement that you'd gone to Miss Odio, that you weren't too enthusiastic about it, his coming up with that. Why do you think he objected to you and Seymour into it? I don't know, I think, though I really don't know. I think that if you're not, you should be convinced that Seymour was at the time and was completely out of the picture. I don't have any great interest in that, but Lauren Hall said that he was there, so... Well, this is a lie. It's either unintentional, he said that without thinking, or he just made a lie, just lied about it, because Seymour was not with us. Seymour was still in Miami. On his first statement to the Bureau, Hall admitted he was out there and provided an awful lot of details, redacted, and everything. The whole works. And then a whole sentence is redacted. And then it says, but he admitted he was there. Well, and we can tell you with certainty Garrison didn't redact his own fucking documents. Answer, well, I was there in Dallas with him along with Warito. Warito, this fucking name again. Where did you... And then it's redacted. So something went on that they asked him about that somebody fucking redacted. Answer, here, I think you've got a copy of it, but I brought this because it's pretty well pinpoints. I didn't want to go to Dallas for I don't know, but I had 3 reasons. One was I'd like to find the hotel or motel we stood in. This would have still have the records when we checked in and when we checked out. And I made a collect call, too. I mean, all this would just pinpoint everything, but here, you've seen this, I think. I just looked at it. The 3rd? Well, I wrote it on the 3rd, is Howard speaking. Well, I wrote it on the 3rd. It's post-stamped October 4th. Well, this pinpoints it because I say in here, well, we've been here since Saturday. I wrote this on October 3rd, of course. I could have wrote this any time, but but that can be checked. When do you think you arrived here, though? Well, that would have been Thursday. I checked back. I think it was on a Thursday because October, I think it was on... you arrived at the end of September. It was either, do you have a 63 map, a 63 calendar? I think it was Thursday, either the 26th or the 27th. And then the next question is fully redacted. I'll tell you in a minute. Let's see. Thursday, wait a minute. Oh, no, wait, excuse me. We've been here since Saturday, October 3rd. This is the 3rd Saturday. It would have been September 28th. Well, guess what the fuck he's corroborating here? What else happened on September 28th? when Lawrence Howard admits that he rolled into Dallas. On, excuse me, on September 28th, that's the fucking first time that allegedly Oswald showed up at the Sportsdrome rifle range and had his scope set by, oh my God, what's his fucking name? It'll come to me. By the guy at the Sportsdrome. Okay, so that was William Seymour, clearly, and now we have corroboration that that's the fucking day that they arrived in town, September 28th. But it was definitely the day that the first time William Seymour went to the rifle range. All right, question. Just thinking out loud now, because I'm inclined to believe what you say, but that means that Hall was definitely there at the time. Redacted. She recalls as being approximately September 30th. Was he bumming around with anybody else while he was there with you? No, he was. He'd leave a lot of times. Are we taking notes or are we recording, Lou? Lou, we're recording. Okay, go ahead with this because I won't have to take it. Okay, a lot of times he would leave us at the motel. You arrived with Juarito. Right, that's redacted Castro. I don't know why the fuck they'd redact that. He'd leave us at the motel. We'd stay together. A lot of times we'd leave with Juarito. Me and him would go somewhere. A lot of times all three go together. A lot of times redacted. What kind of car did you come in? A 56 Olds, a black Olds. Actually, that's a fucking lie because it was a white Olds. Because it died in Dallas, and then allegedly Lee Harvey Oswald was seen pushing a white Olds station wagon into a junkyard. So it was a white Olds, not a black Olds. Lawrence fucking liar Howard. And where'd you come from? From Los Angeles. Hall's car? Yes. See, he just confirmed it, motherfucker. Did it used to be another color? Yeah. Green? Yeah, I think it was. It was just recently painted before we left. Okay, so, see, he's so full of fucking bullshit. It's unbelievable. God, it pisses me off. See, he's asking if it was green because he's trying to get him to acknowledge he had the green Rambler station wagon, right? But no, he's referring to the white Pontiac station wagon that was dumped off at the junkyard by a guy who looked like fucking Lee Harvey Oswald who was seen pushing it into the fucking junkyard, okay? Yeah, I think it was. It was just recently painted before we left. It had a bump in the fender or something. Yeah, and they tried to straighten it out. It still had the bump. Yeah? Did he ever visit Lester Logue while you were there? Yeah. The first time we went, I don't remember. It was a big building right off the freeway. I guess this was his office location. Off Central Expressway. Right off the freeway. That would be the medical. I think that sounds familiar. And then the question is completely redacted. Answer, he mentioned he was a lawyer. My understanding was that he was a geologist. He's talking about Lester Logue. Now, maybe I misunderstood. I don't know. But he took me and Juarito with him, and we waited down in the car in the parking lot. Okay, so when you're going through this Kennedy stuff, and you keep reading all these motherfuckers like George de Mohrenschildt are geologists, they're not fucking studying rocks, okay? These guys are all connected to oil, and so they have a cover of being a geologist. Maybe Lester Logue was a geologist. But that just meant he had a fucking oil company, right? That didn't mean he was like studying fucking geodes and shit. What do you call Hall? Skip? No, Lauren Skip, Lauren Hall. Do you recall him ever mentioning Odio to you? No, never. Did he ever mention Professor Odio? That's her father. No. You waited in the parking lot while Hall went up to see him. Right. What did he say when he came back? Well, he was supposed to be there, but that was supposed to be the contact, and he was supposed to get additional funds and equipment. I think he was the one we were supposed to see about getting the boat out of, and then something's redacted. So that's it. Oh, the boat was an impound. They had a boat that got impounded at some point. So that's it. Did he mention a man named, something's redacted, and it looks like TH something D, handwritten, or maybe an H. I can't fucking read it. I don't think so. I don't remember it. Did you ever hear the name, and it's fucking redacted? Redacted? I don't believe I did. That was the first time I knew about Logue. Did Hall ever indicate to you that he knew Jack Ruby? No. What did he have in mind in visiting Logue, raising money? yeah, raising, getting additional funds, whatever else he could get. And then it's redacted. Was he successful? Well, I don't know. I think he was, but he didn't admit it because when I left my family, naturally, my wife had been working, but I hadn't been working for some time, and I was receiving pay from anybody. Wasn't receiving pay from anybody. For what it's worth, I wasn't. And he was supposed to get additional funds from Logue. I didn't know from whom at the time, but he said that his contact would try to get additional funds. I said, well, look, if there's any extra, I'd like to have a few bucks to send home. So he said, okay. He said something like, I've got to send my wife a few dollars too. So Hall was supposed to get $50 or so, which isn't much, but would have helped a little. Did he give you something? No, because when he came back out, I said, well, how did you make out? And he said he only gave me so much just for expenses. So that I'm not going to be able to give you any money. I'm not going to be able to send any. So to myself, I said, well, this is to myself. I said, no. You didn't want me to go up there with you, And number two, I felt that he might have gotten the money. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. I felt that he might have gotten it but didn't want to dish out or something like this, But I know he got some funds. He claimed, I think it was about $300 or something like this to continue the trip. Well, how did you eat? Well, he was footing the bill. Hall was. Right. Did you have a trailer on the car? Yeah. And what was in the trailer? Arms, medical supplies, and military. Before I ask this question, I'm going to ask a question about General Walker. I want to say that we're not investigating him because we received some pretty useful information from him. Did Hall ever mention Walker at any time? I think he mentioned he'd met General Walker. I'm pretty sure he did. Walker indicates that he'd met him, but I've never seen that Hall mentioned it. I'm pretty sure he said he met General Walker. Did he ever mention Wally Yates? Yeah, Wally. Yeah, I met him. You met Wally Yates? Yes, we were down at his house. What's your impression of Yates? And he pauses. Kind of a nut maybe. I don't know. Kind of a diehard, I guess I would say. And what little I recall, I guess, I would say he was anti-Kennedy to say the least. Did you see any anti-Kennedy literature around his house? No. Was he? No. How long were you at his house? About an hour. Did you meet his wife? I don't remember. I don't remember her. I mean, I don't met her. She offered us coffee. I think they had one little girl, two little girls, something like. Do we have that large picture of the house that has been, with the car with the apparent hole punched in the back? Here's some large picture of the back of the house in the alley. Where did Hall get his contacts for Dallas? For Dallas? Yeah, from Jerry Patrick, I think. And then Howard says, yeah, I think that's where he got most of them from. I was going to say, I don't want to. I'm not implying or in any way insinuating, but I think he could give you some information. I mean, I think that's not saying he was involved or anything. Who's that? Jerry. He knows an awful lot of people. Patrick? Yeah. We talked to Patrick, and we talked to some lengths with him, but we found Patrick to be frank with you, we found Patrick wasn't giving much information, but was seeking it. It was a friendly visit in a sense, but it was awfully redacted after 3 or 4 hours because he redacted. The fucking whole sentence is redacted. And he's a very interesting person. There's no question that he could have told us a lot more than he did. Well, what I was making a reference to is that he knows a lot of people. Yeah, he does. He knows the Cubans. Do you have the names, any of the names we mentioned in your mind have any connection with the Central Intelligence Agency? You said you didn't have much income. Some people did have income, right? The CIA, even if they were doing nothing, right? Easy money, right? Do you know any of the people who might have been, and then a whole line is redacted, who didn't seem to have any grave money problems? These are your redacted. No income tax. They don't advertise. They just don't have any money problems. So he's asking him if he knows anybody who was just always there, people who had always been around, who didn't work, who just always had money and didn't have any money problems. He's like, I'm aware of how the setup works. No, but I can't. I don't know any names. How about Patrick? Patrick, I don't know. We've often, various Cubans and myself and various other Americans who were out at that time would sit down and discuss Patrick, but he seemed to have his fingers in so many contacts here and there, Garrison's team asks, when he came to see us, he had just come from Washington. Howard says, well, I know this. I spoke to him not too long ago. Right after this, when you subpoenaed me, I guess he found out where I was, and I spoke to him. And from what I understand, from what I've heard from someone else, he's been doing some work on it. He's been doing a lot. As you've indicated yourself, he's been doing a little digging himself. Why would he do his homework? Why would he... I don't know. Maybe perhaps it's to, I don't know, maybe later on to write a book, or for his own personal, or maybe for somebody else. I don't know. Did he seem to have any cash with him in 63 when you visited him? Well, it was obvious with him it was either feast or famine. I mean, you know, this type of thing. What does he do for a living now? I don't know. He's working. He's working, though, out in that area. I don't know exactly what he's doing or who he's working for, but he's working, I think. Have you spoken to Lauren Hall? No, somebody, for what it's worth, somebody made the statement to Jerry Patrick that Hall was scared to death of Jerry Patrick. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It's just what I was told. There's an indication that Patrick is not happy about Hall. He's taken away some of the contacts. Well, yes, I would say this is true because they were pretty bitter about it. I seen him after in the Miami area. This was after we got to the Miami area. When did you leave Dallas? As near as I can ascertain, it was about roughly, I don't know, let's see. I would say roughly give or take about October 10th, give or take a couple of days either way. All right, so let me stop right here for a second because this is funny. Because this feud that went on between Jerry Patrick and Lauren Hall to me is hilarious because it all got started off because before the assassination, you have Lauren Hall going to Dick Hathcock at Allied Detective Agency and picking up the Johnson 30-06 rifle that he will use from the 6th floor of the book depository, right? And that rifle was fucking Jerry Patrick's, right? That was Jerry Hemming's rifle. So Hemming was pissed off that that Lauren Hall would go and pick up that fucking rifle. Right? Because why? Oh my God. Because Jerry fucking Hemming's rifle was used and implicates him in the assassination of President Kennedy. So of course he'd be fucking pissed, right? But then after the assassination, Jerry Hemming files a police report with the Miami police, and he says that Hall had actually taken 2 more rifles out of his own apartment, right? So fucking Jerry Hemming and Hall are not on good terms by the time of this fucking interview, right? So within a short time after the assassination, they had the falling out over the fucking rifle, because if I had a fucking gun that me and somebody else pawned off to a guy, and then somebody else went and picked that rifle up and used it in the assassination of a president, I'd be a little fucking pissed off too. And the anger level of Jerry Hemming, to me, almost vindicates him in any suspicion in the assassination that he probably was in fucking Miami. And then when he found out about the goddamn rifle being used, that motherfucker just blew up. He was like, holy shit, fuck that guy. And then he filed the police report about Hall taking 2 more rifles out of his apartment. So, yeah, because in that police report, it even indicates that that Hemming was upset over, and they mentioned the rifle that was pawned off to Hathcock, right? Like, this stuff is so significant, so deeply significant to the assassination. Question, there was an indication that Patrick is not happy about Hall. He's taken away some of the contacts. Well, yes, I would say this is true because they were pretty bitter about it. I've seen him after in Miami. When did you leave Dallas? Well, as near as I can ascertain, it was roughly, I don't know, let's see, about October 10th, give or take a couple of days either way. Where did you come from? California? Right, San Francisco. That's false. He was in Los Angeles. Then when did you leave? Then you went where? To Dallas. I mean, from Dallas you went where? Straight to Miami. Miami, how long did you stay there? Well, I stood there until I came back, which is roughly, I would say, about November 11th, give or take a day there. And where did you come on the 11th of November? Los Angeles. You stayed there. Right, I got a job, and that's where I was. The YMCA records in Dallas, they don't mention Seymour's name, but they have Hall. And you, having stayed there on the 18th of October. I meant to ask you about this. This is Howard talking. I was going to ask you if Hall's name was there. I kind of had a feeling that he might have used my name. But I've gotten... it was Hall. And according to the record, 2 men came in and stayed one night. And it has the name Hall and your name. Okay, so he's getting busted here because he stayed at the YMCA in fucking Dallas with Lauren Hall, right? So... one of these days, I really need to go through all the stuff that happened at the YMCA, right? Because you have sightings at Jack Ruby. Allegedly, Oswald stayed there. You have 2 different YMCAs being used in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So there's a lot going on there. I really need to sequence that stuff and see if I can't lay out who was actually staying where, when, based on the data points we already have. All right, Howard says, well, the only clues in my mind is, maybe I thought maybe Hall might have used my name, maybe Seymour. Would they do something like that? Use your name? In other words, were you friends? I think he would. Well, we weren't friends in the sense that we were buddies. Where you might say we're just business, some kind of, a different type of thing. That's tricky. Is that in his nature too? Well, I can give an incident and you can arrive at your own conclusions from what I understood. You see, I met Hall about January, the latter part of January in '63. I met him through Jerry Patrick and that was it. I just met him for a few minutes and that was it. And then after, I was down there in the Keys there and I had to call my wife on occasion and she told me that Hall was trying to get a hold of me, that he had military gear and was interested in talking to me. So anyhow, that's what I heard. That's what I heard of him again. So when I came back, I guess it was August of '63, and redacted Juarito came with me, and another Cuban, Jose, I think it was, Frank Fernandez or something like that. He came back with me, and when I got home, my wife said that Hall had been calling me, so I called him. So he said he wanted to talk to me. So he came over to my house, and he told me what he had been doing, and he had gear and he wanted to go in and make a run if I was interested. So I told him to show me what he had because, I'd been so many people of various redacted. You've got to say, I want to do this. And that a lot of times they're just talking. So he showed me and I believed. So I decided to go in with him and go back to Miami. I found out later he's going to bring all this up. As I found out later, though, that one of the way he got this, maybe he got it on his own, but I think the help that he got on this in making these speeches, he was saying various people who attended these meetings, told me later, in other words, he was using me and my group on the Keys, saying like in his speeches that he was representing me. He was the leader of our group and that we were in the Key now, waiting for all help. And all this type of thing. And this was without my knowledge and without my consent. I found this out later. So, I just pointed this out to you to give you the idea. Okay, so this is pretty well established at this point that Loren Hall was just a fucking grifter doing all these meetings to raise money, but he was just doing it to put the money in his pocket. And anything he ever did with any kind of operations was all funded by the CIA. So, question. Well, he apparently came back to Dallas before you did then. Did he leave sometime in Miami after you went back there and returned? Because remember, he was arrested in mid-October with William Seymour. It says Louis Seymour, but it's William Seymour. Yeah, sure he did. When we left Dallas, I said it was October 10th. Around in there, we left the trailer there. Where did you leave the trailer there? Yeah, I know. You've got it on record. If you want me to say it, I'll say it. It was left at Logues. Okay. Howard then says, we went to Miami, and the three of us, Juarito, myself, and Seymour, Hall sent over there is when our contact fell. He was working. I was to contact him because when I had the key, he was my second in command. So we explained what was going on and this and that, and if he was interested, and he said, yeah. So anyhow, Hall said that he was going to go back and get the trailer. I had just come back and I didn't feel like taking that ride. Again, right back again. So I said I didn't want to go. So him and Bill left and I stood in Miami. This is why, Seymour and I were never in Dallas together. They went back to Miami. Question. This is after you got down there and got back. Answer. I would say, I don't remember exactly when I left, but I would say 3 or 4 days, something like that. Maybe 5, I'm not certain. Why did you leave the trailer at Logue's house? Why did you leave the trailer, period? Well, he said something about, I think because the boat contact had fizzled out or something like that. He wasn't sure. He didn't want to drive straight into Miami with the trailer for fear of it getting, confiscated. So he thought it would be best if we left it here and, went in. Who was beginning to do the confiscating? I know it was starting about that time, but who was doing the confiscating? Well, mostly Customs. Whose idea was it that you leave the trailer? Hall's? I know it sounded like I'm passing. I'm not passing the buck. I'm giving you the facts the way it happened. Was there any discussion about diverting the trailer to Houston? No. Did you ever go into Houston with the trailer? No, never. So anyway, this is the way it happened. We went in to see, set up, see how things were there, see whether we could bring the trailer in and send it to a safe place and just leave it there without just going in blind. And this is what we done, make the connections and further connections incidentally. I hope that what I'm admitting won't be held or used against me for some kind of stuff, No, we don't have tricks. Well, anyhow, this was the case. We went down there and contacted Bill, and Bill went back with him. What was the reason that Bill Seymour and Hall went back? To get the trailer. Isn't that kind of odd? That here Hall's going to make himself a trip all the way back to Dallas. He could have just gone ahead and brought the trailer. Did he feel safer about customs for some reason? That's really a long trip by car. To have to double back and get the trailer when he could have just brought it beforehand. Yeah, I suppose that's true, but could there have been another reason in his mind for leaving the trailer there? Mr. Garrison, I don't know. I've been in so many words by various persons. I've been asked if Hall could have been wheeling and dealing inside. I mean, I'm not trying in any way to imply or insinuate that this is the case. I mean, I've just been asked this, and I thought of this myself, and honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, sometimes I doubt, but I can't say. He was either extremely incompetent in this and stupid, and this is the way he is, or pretended to be, or he just made honest mistakes. I don't know. I try to. Thinking back, that seemed kind of like a waste of energy and time to have left it there and made the whole trip back. Well, it depends on how you look at it. If I felt that perhaps there was added surveillance or that we were under surveillance, I think I would have done the same thing, rather than to have taken the chance of driving blind, of course. We could have been stopped anywhere in the state. But the Florida area is where we come under more surveillance. I mean, this type of thing. I think I would have done the same, if I felt that there was, heavy surveillance. I think I would have left the trailer somewhere, some safe place anyhow. I don't think I would have taken a chance and drove it on getting it, losing the things. How long did Seymour stay with him? Do you know? Seymour stood with him from the time they left Miami. I guess was roughly, I don't know, well, figure it out. Let's see, he left about November 12th from Dallas. It took about 2 or 3 days. I would say roughly take about 25th or 26th, something like that. You mean October, don't you? When he left Dallas? Yeah, so he said November 12th, but he's really implying October. Yeah, when they left to Miami to go back to Dallas. When would that be? Because they were in Dallas the 18th of October. We left Dallas to go down on the 10th of October, the 9th or the 10th or something like that. It took us a couple days to drive there, and that would put us about, and next week Hall went back there. Yeah, right. But this time it was safe. Right. Then what he apparently did, because the registration at the YMCA was in 24 hours of the arrest of Seymour and Hall, and apparently Hall and Seymour went to register at the YMCA as Hall and Howard. Yeah, this is what I gather now. This is funny. So, it was obviously Howard being there, but he's trying to say it was Seymour. That's hilarious. This is apparently what happened. Why did Seymour not use his own name? Was he hiding from something? No, I don't know. Seymour, at the time, he was a friend of mine. We were pretty close. I thought my first impression when I heard that you had stated I was registered there was Hall might have used my name. That's why I was so interested in finding out if Hall was registered. It never occurred to me that Bill would have used it, but apparently this seems to be the case. Redacted, something, yeah, and then, yeah. Within 24 hours of their arrest, yeah, I wasn't there at all. When did they come back? I don't know for sure when they came back, but I don't remember for sure, but it was about that time, I guess. We have found witnesses again. We're not trying to put Hall on the hot spot, but he seems to be a witness. There seems to be a witness who could give us a lot of information, but he was definitely back in Dallas again in November, according to some witnesses. Do you have any idea what the schedule was to return him to Dallas again? No, I wasn't aware. You mean, did he leave? You mean, after he and Seymour, they went back to Miami? Hall was back in Dallas in November. No, I have no knowledge of that. I'm not trying to ask you if you can put him there on the 22nd or anything like that, but I'm simply saying that we have a witness who can say they saw him in November. No, I have no knowledge of this at all. Do you think Seymour would be cooperative with us if we talked to him? I would think so. He still lives in Phoenix, or is he in Tucson? No, I heard he's in Tucson. If you want, I think I got his address. I don't know if it's correct or not. We'd like to have it. I don't know if this is the latest one. I was thinking, well, no, but if Seymour's as cooperative as you are, I'm being cooperative, but some of the problems caused by Hall's announcement that you know Mrs. Odio. Okay, here's the latest one I got. It's 2822 West Alvaro Drive, Tucson. Guys, let's pull the data on that address, please. 2822 West Alvaro Drive, Tucson. I don't want him to know I gave it to you. I mean, I think he'll be cooperative, but I don't know. Okay, you've got the picture of the house. By the same token, I'm not, I want you to know something. I'm not an informer now. Hell no, we don't want you to feel that way. Have you ever seen this house? It was taken from an alley in the back. I don't know. That's the back of General Walker's house. For a minute, it might have been the back of just, I don't know why, Wheat's house, but it isn't. What did Hall say about how well he knew General Walker, or having visited him? I think he mentioned words one time, or words to the effect one time, that he had met General Walker. Just met him, that's all. He didn't say too much about him. I think I recall, I'm not certain, I'm not pretty sure though, he said he had met him. Did you ever have the feeling that Mr. Logue was a front for somebody else? Probably had a bigger backer, a contact, or some source of money, or did Hall ever indicate that? Well, I only met, like I said, I met Mr. Logue one time, and there was nothing discussed. I mean, this is when we took the trailer over to his house and parked it there. But from what I've gathered, I mean, this is a lot of this. And Hall meets Stevens about this. And a lot of this is just kind of my personal opinion. Is just that I think there was some kind of oilman type of connection there. I mean, how about H.L. Hunt? Well, Hall has mentioned him. He said he knew him and met other oilmen in some kind of petroleum club or some country club or something like that. He made a speech, but that's all I can give you there. George de Mohrenschildt was a member of that petroleum club also. Question, well, if he met Walker and he seems to know Walker, he probably meant Hunt somewhere along the line. I don't know if he met Hunt, but I think he mentioned him, that he might have met him or something like this, because he said he attended a redacted speech at a country club or some oilmen or something like this, petroleum or something, some kind of, I think I remember him saying something about it, but not too much. Who's this guy Wheat, whose name keeps coming up in California? That's going to be, this is me talking now. This is G. Clinton Wheat, okay? G. Clinton Wheat. We'll get to him one of these fucking days. I met him prior to our meeting in Los Angeles area. This is where, fucking redacted. This is where we picked up the trailer from and left. What kind of weapons did you have? They were all legal. I'm not getting into that. I mean, what type? Did he have any rifles? Yeah, 30 caliber, and there was a scope. There has been this brought up. There was a scope weapon, and there was an M1 and standard M1 Grands and M14 modified, strictly semi. How many of them? Roughly, we had about 16 long arms altogether. Where did they? Who provided them? Some came from Erquiaga Arms, Erquiaga Arms. Let's pull the data on this company, please. Erquiaga, Erquiaga Arms Company. How do you spell that? As in City of Industry or something like that. That's a funny name. What is that? Well, he was a Cuban, and he was a top arms ordnance man for Fidel Castro. He was? Yeah, then he switched. Yeah, he switched and started, I don't know, I met him through Hall. Is he connected with Wheat? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. Was he connected to Colonel Gale? I don't know if he was or not. What did Wheat have to do with it? Did he provide some arms? No, Wheat, from what I gathered, what I found out, this Wheat fellow seems interesting. What was he doing in 1963? Well, I don't know what he was doing. I mean, he was helping in that Cuban thing. I don't know if he was helping in the Cuban thing. I know he helped Hall. I don't know what it amounts to. I think he belonged to some kind of, some kind of organization, Christian or Universal. Some kind of, I'm not sure, but they used to have meetings at his house. He used to hand out brochures, and lots of times I seen him. He was active in a march in Washington. This is, I think, 64 organizing anyhow. I think they used to have meetings there. What's Wheat's connection to Lauren Hall? I don't know how they met or anything. Wheat, I guess, just helped him. They used his house. Is Wheat rich? No, I don't think so. Would it be fair description of Wheat then to just say he's a conservative guy who's kind of interested in action and in doing something other than in other words, he's an activist, sort of. Yeah, I think that would be a fair description, that he was interested in doing something to aid an anti-communist cause. Yeah, one thing I was surprised about when... there's a question, by the way. Yeah, one thing I was surprised about when Bradley made a public statement, that's Edgar Eugene Bradley, about that he didn't know Lauren Hall, because we know a number of different people who have met Hall through Eugene Bradley. In fact, Bradley introduced him as Lorenzo Castillo. And, any reason why Bradley would say he did not know Hall? No, as a matter of fact. And then the next question is fully redacted. No, I was not aware until just recently that they did know each other, or that people have said that they did know each other. I didn't know if they did or they didn't. How did you know that Hall knew Wheat? Because Hall took me down to Wheat's house. What was Wheat's house used for? I told you some kind of, they had meetings. It was an anti-communist type organization, I guess. I'm not that keen on the background of it. What about the basement and the garage? In the garage, all he had was reloading equipment. This is just nothing extraordinary about it. Did he have arms and munitions and that kind of thing? No, I never did see anything. He had reloading equipment, and that was it. He reloaded a lot of ammo. Just how much reloading equipment? He just had just a standard, nothing. One set, right? Just one set, right? There's nothing with one set. Naturally, you can reload an awful lot of ammo. There's no big setup of any kind. I haven't been in California much since this recent activity and comments. Do you know whether or not Hall has said anything about knowing Bradley? No. He hasn't made a statement. No, I don't know. No. Do you know of your own knowledge whether he does? No, I don't. I guess you know Gene Bradley, because you point out in the picture there's a resemblance. How well do you know Gene Bradley? I just met him that first time in court, the first and only time. And prior to that, anything I knew about him was from the newspapers, his picture, and that's it. How did he contact you? Bradley never contacted me. Your lawyer? Yes, the lawyer did. That was Mr. Jensen. When you say prior to that newspaper, you mean, what newspaper do you mean? I think this. I left for Mexico on Christmas Day. I think just shortly before that. I think this was when you subpoenaed him or something, or just wanted to extradite him. I think this was when I first became aware of Bradley. Were you visiting a friend in Mexico? Yeah, friends there. Do you know about any trips to Mexico, any of these people you were talking about in 63? Oh, no. How about Jerry Patrick Hemming? Well, I don't know for sure, but I think in 63, it was about October. I'm not sure the date, the insurance, and this is common knowledge because it came out in the papers and TV in the Miami area. The insurance and financing, they go look for Alexander. Okay. All right. So this is fucking hilarious to me. So they go looking for Alexander, and then it's basically redacted. Okay. But this is Alexander Rourke that they're looking for. Roarke, Rourke. This was it's fucking hilarious. They redact something, and I already know the shit, so it was pointless in redacting it. This was in British Honduras. The guy who disappeared, yeah. And then there's a whole sentence redacted here. And it says, I don't know with who else. I think it was Enrique Molina. I think I've seen his name in there somewhere. I think he was supposed to have flown down there. I'm not certain. Enrique who? Molina. I'm not certain, but that's what I heard. And I heard he may have been, I don't know, just he may have been in Mexico at that time. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not certain. Do you know any connection between Molina and Hall? Hall says he knew him. I think I remember Hall saying that he knew Molina. Did you ever hear anything about a trip to New York that Hall made? To New York? No. I know Molina used to work back and forth, jump around between Miami and New York. With who? I don't know with who. He used to jump around between Miami and New York. What about Howard Davis? Did you get to know him pretty well? Yeah. What's Davis's story? Before I met him, I understood he was in Cuba with Jerry. He was supposed to be Raul Castro's personal pilot. And they both defected. I don't know together or what, but he and Jerry were when I think it was November or October of 62 that I went down there, and through him joined his group. They were the leaders of the group, Davis and Patrick. And what did Davis look like? He's about 5'10", kind of chunky, say about 180, about 190 right in there. What is his coloring? He's light complected, like light blonde hair, sandy colored hair. Was he a talented pilot or a professional? Yeah, I understood that. Yeah, he's real good. I understood he's flying between Miami and Vietnam cargo, so I guess he has to be good to get a commercial license, I guess. What's Jerry Patrick doing now? He's in your L.A. area. I think he's working, I understand. Did you ever know Frank Bartz? No. Did you ever have occasion to meet or hear of David Ferry? No, not until, liar. How about a man named Marty Abelow? Marty? What? Abelow? I don't think so. Do you know if Jerry Patrick ever went to Guatemala in 63? I don't know, not in 63. I think it was 62 or 61. I think you've got a copy of that, don't you? Of what? Here, I'll give you a brief background on him. Okay. Okay, and so it looks like we're going to start getting into some new names here. We're on page 24 of 86, and we're going to call it for today, and we are going to tune back in here tomorrow. This will probably take 3, maybe I'll stretch it out to 4 days. But I'm going to, I'm going to be going through the rest of these goddamn Treasury documents to see if what else is hidden in there. And why Jim Garrison... Like, this fucking document is a Jim Garrison document. Guess what? It's not in Jim Garrison papers. You're not going to find it in any Jim Garrison collection, period. But I find it in Weisberg's Treasury fucking folders. Something is afoot here. I don't like it at all. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I appreciate your tuning in. If you haven't bought the book, please buy the book. Or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JFKbook. You can make a donation one time or monthly. You can pick up one of my limited edition art prints. I still got a whole bunch of those left. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will be back tomorrow with more of this interview of Lawrence Howard buried in the Harold Weisberg files. Thanks, everybody.